Hello, hello, good night, everybody. What's up? Hey, what's up, man? What's up? What's up? What's up? Yep, happy to be home. Can you guys hear me now? Ah, yeah, we got sound. My mic was muted. I'm using the Blue Yeti, and it was muted, so sorry about that. Hey, what's up, Alex? Hey, what up, Exotic? What's up, Smokey? Justin C. Death Mage. Bubba was here. Reef Jeeves, what's up, man? What's up, Disco Reefer? And Tom Reefman 92. Tonight, we're gonna feature Jeff from Daily Reefing, but he just sent me a text and he said he had a newborn. You know, he's taking care of his newborn, so he's gonna he's gonna be on in just a minute. So tonight, Jeff from Daily Reefing. Oh man, someone ringing my bell. All right, hang on, guys. Just give me 1 second. Hey guys, sorry about that. I don't know, someone, it's 9:03 and someone just rung my bell, said delivery. So I'm not sure what that was about, but sorry about that. So let me get the link, and so you guys can pop in and we can chat until Daily Reefing gets here. All right, so I gotta get this bit.ly link. All right, so we do this, get the bit.ly link, and then you make the redirect link. All right, so what's up, Rip? So if anybody wants to come in and we could chat for a little bit until Jeff from Daily Reefing pops in, and then, we will have Jeff kind of walk us through his Apex setup. But if you guys have any questions about Apex or anything reefing in general, please let me know. Hey, Rip. I'm good, Rip. I'm good. Good to be home. Tonight is probably going to be like a shorter stream. I think usually we do it for like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. But, man, I think I got in like about an hour ago, long couple of days. So, long couple of days. So we'll, I'm probably going to go to bed early tonight. Deathmate said, "Oh, do you mind if I put the link to Discord?" Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, my trip was successful. I think so. I'll learn in a couple of days just how successful, but yeah, it was successful. Yeah, Mage, put the link. No problem. Pelfrey, Daily Reefing running the Profilux also, right? I think he's running the Apex, and he is running, I think he's running some kind of KH controller. So, some kind of KH controller. I think he's running the one from Coral View. So, yeah, I think so. Yep. Link is no good. What? Yeah, I think he's running the KH monitor. Oh, man. Okay, you know what? Dave is right. The link is no bueno. So let me fix that link again. And all right. So just give me a second. Hey, Reef Keeper. I didn't see you, man. I didn't see you. All right. So let me figure out this link. So that's the first link. If that doesn't work for some people, then we got to go to bit.ly, get the bit.ly shortened link, copy. Then there's the bit.ly link that's copied. And then, from the bit.ly link, you get the redirect link. So Dave, Let me know if that link works. And then, from the bit.ly link, you get the redirect link. So Dave, hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Bo?
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
hey, how you doing? How you guys doing?
What's up, man?
Alex is in, Reef God is in, Dave is in. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
All right. So,
Came in, answer all those big Apex questions.
All right.
Ones you can't handle.
All right. I appreciate it. All right. Let me try and figure out. We're having some background feedback. Let me try and figure out who's that from. It's not Dave. All right. There is Brian, aka the business. All right, Jeff. The floor is yours. Guys, this is Jeff from Daily Reefing, and he's going to walk us through or kind of show us whenever he can, if you have a mobile camera. He's going to tell us about his Apex setup, get as detailed as you want to, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have questions. We'll have lots of questions.
Yeah, questions are good. So I'm on my MacBook, so hopefully the quality is decent here, and we can. Is it pretty easy to share your screen?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'll kind of show you I'll show you the actual setup first, and I'll show you the interface that I've got. We'll go from there.
All right, sounds good.
So here is and again, sorry, trying to do this via laptop. So here is the kind of control wall. So I have got, so starting up here, I've got a PM1 module and two FMM modules for flow monitoring and the top-off kit, the 2016 Brain, a Yeti cup, and two 832 outlet bars. So I've also got I'm also an owner of the Profilux and the GHL Doser 2.1. Although this whole system, so this is actually the expansion box. I'm running the main Profilux Brain inside the house under the tank right now, and that controls the Mitris lights that I'm running. This is the expansion box, which just kind of adds basically an entire another set of all your inputs on a Profilux. And I can kind of get into that a bit later. I've got the display module, and then over here, the other continuant so far, I've got another PM1 pH monitor module here, and I'm running the KH Guardian, the KH monitor. So this one only has the 2 dosing heads on it, and so this will only monitor my alkalinity, and I've got it set up to where it will give me readings every 4 hours, and it does that. Output of the reading shoots it to this kind of middleman module, and then converts it to a signal, a reading that a pH probe could take. And so you just kind of graph it out into a pH input, and that way you can kind of graph out and monitor your alkalinity. So that is kind of the basics of the control. As far as other automation goes, so back here I'm running the Genesis Renew automatic water change system. And so if you guys don't know about that, it basically has one gallon reservoir here, and then it's got another one. It's kind of over there. So whenever this thing turns on, if a pump in here pulls out 1 gallon of new salt water, pumps it up there, and then the solenoid opens and gravity drains out into the sump. And then simultaneously in here, this identical reservoir, a little pump takes 1 gallon of tank water out, puts it into here, and then at the same time as the fresh salt water starts draining into the sump, this used dirty tank water drains down into my sink and just does a 1 gallon water change. And so currently, so I've got, with the addition of this new 150 gallon sump with my turf scrubber, I've got around 850 gallons of total water. So I'm changing 6 gallons of water a day. And up until this point, so I'm starting to reevaluate some of my filtration. And I did a video a couple days ago about taking offline a sulfur nitrate reactor. They work very well, but it's stripping my water too much. And so I took that offline a few days ago, and hopefully I'm going to try to get some nitrate readings. If I still am reading 0 nitrates with the sulfur reactor offline, the next step will be the water changes. I'll cut back on those. And if I'm still not getting readings, then I'm going to cut down on how long I run my algae scrubber. And so this thing is 3 feet wide and 18 inches tall. So it's a huge algae scrubber, and I've also got a refugium. So I've got a lot of nutrient export going on. But you guys have seen my tank. I've got like 1,000 fish, and so I've got a huge bio load. So that is the basics of what I'm currently running now. I do have more plans. So I've got another box of goodies here that I still need to get hooked up. So I've got 2 more ALD leak detection modules with, I think I've got 8 more sensors. So I need to get leak detection or leak monitoring going in my house, which I have not yet set up. And I also need to get sensors over around my water mixing station. And obviously I've got just, containers of water everywhere. So I've just been lazy and haven't been doing that. Mainly the newborn has slowed me down there. But so the only big things are the leak detection modules, and then I've got 3 of the 1.5-inch flow meters that I need to get hooked up. Now I know, you've not had a great. I guess you haven't found them too necessary in your experience. I've got some ideas with mine where just because obviously my situation is unique. I've got, I think they're 90-foot horizontal runs. So I've got 4 90-foot 1.5-inch drains coming from my house, and then a 5th 1.5-inch return going back to the tank. And so I need to know if any one of those drain lines ever gets clogged and starts draining less. So that's my big thing there, is kind of a safeguard to know if my draining flow slows down. That means something's going on with my drains.
I got to just revamp what I said about the flow meters, because after talking to Brian last week, I was going to sell them, but I think I'm going to hang on to them, only because he mentioned some unique uses for them last week. And, with me planning to move, I think I'm going to hold on to them. And I think I'm going to hold on to them.
What caught your interest? What did he?
So he mentioned, I was using them primarily on a manifold, right? And he mentioned that using them, and Brian, you can step in and correct me if I got this wrong, but he mentioned kind of that he would like to use them closer to like the return, because I found that where I installed them, they weren't very useful at telling me how much flow I was using, but I think he mentioned like installing them like right at the point where the water flows into the tank, which would give you, more accurate reading. Because if I'm measuring right before the water gets into the tank and it's telling me 300 gallons per hour, then I think I'd be more trusting of that versus I have it directly right on the output of my pumps, and then, kind of split manifold. And then I still had maybe about 4 or 5 feet of maybe vertical run after that, after I had the flow meter. So maybe my install has something to do with, maybe why the information wasn't, so useful.
Yeah,
they're as close to have that I can get without getting them wet. So they're not at the very end of it, but they're at the end of the pipe that goes up into the return. So it's like under my sump. They're the farthest they can go before it curves up and then back and then into the tank. So the other thing I use them for is for like GFO, so I know how much water I need to do to tumble them.
So let me show you. I've got so much hose going on here. Let's see if we can see. This is really hard to do with a laptop. Let's see if I can see my hand. So can you see this flow monitor here? Or is it all black?
We can see it.
Yeah. So I've got one of my 1.5-inch flow monitors right here, and this is the the output of my UV. I've got so much crap in here, you guys. So I've got an Aqua UV 80-watt UV sterilizer down here. And so that's kind of how Brian was talking about, right at the edge, right before it gets wet, basically. So I've got mine on the output of my UV. And that way, the way I use it is if my flow drops below, I think I have it set to 500 gallons, it shuts off the UV, because I normally run it at about 900 gallons per hour. So if, and basically with a flow sensor, you can accomplish most things with float switches as well. So like if my manifold pump shuts off, then obviously there is going to be more water left in the sump that's not running through all my crap. So that would high level, but it's just a more precise, where you're getting feedback. And, my manifold may be running still, but that line could be clogged going to the UV, and it's still pushing water out through other things. So this way I know I'm always getting water to the UV, and if it's not there, then it automatically shuts off the UV bulbs.
I also found that with the new EB8s, I was also using it sort of like a clog detector, but I found that, listen, you have a way bigger system than I do. I only have a 75-gallon tank, but I found that if the pump got clogged, it also dropped I could monitor electric uses because I'm using the EB832. So
right.
That's a way I could, but I said with a planned upgrade coming, I'm going to hang on to them, and I'm pretty sure I'll find something to use them for, with the new build.
Oh, and speaking of pumps, yeah, I forgot over here. So the rest of it, kind of forgot to go on this side of it. So I ran a hardline Cat 5 cable out here to the shed. So I'm using a Google Wi-Fi routers. And then for my main return, I run the Abyss A400 pump. And then my manifold is a Boyle exclusive Red Dragon 230 watt. And then I also use a, what is that? Oh, that's good. I did not think about this. Speaking of automation, I need to set up this roller net on if my sump high levels, because this has been running and just pulling fresh through here because it's high level. So I need to set this up if my sump high level, turn off the power of that roller net.
So you have an you have an Abyss over there and a Red Dragon?
Yeah, and so I also run a second Red Dragon 230 on the tank for a closed loop pump as well. And somebody was asking me in the comments the other day if I would recommend the Abyss pump. We all know, like, they're freaking expensive pumps. They're crazy. However, I used to run a Reflow Hammerhead, which flow rating and head pressure is about the same. But Reflow pumps, they make me nervous. They're great pumps, but I've had 2 seal leaks on that pump, and one of them drained about 5 gallons of water. And so I think Sanjay drained his whole tank or something off a refill pump failing one day. So I wanted to get rid of that. And the only thing that could handle the crazy head pressure and piping runs I've got DC wise is an Abyss pump. Like my Red Dragon pump cannot handle the head pressure on this system, because it, I have a decline coming out here. So the whole run is about 85 feet or so horizontally. And then I've got about probably an 8-foot vertical head height after that. And so a lot of head pressure, and the Abyss can handle it at 64%.
All right. Man.
Yeah, it's for a normal, if you just have a sump under your tank and you're just shooting water up to the tank, do not get an Abyss pump. It's a huge waste of money. But if you have something crazy, they're great. Otherwise, no, it's way overkill. They're awesome.
Any reason why you're using the ALDs instead of the new FMM with the new sensors, or you just had that before?
Yeah, I bought them all a couple years ago.
You still have them in the box?
Some of them I did take offline when I moved. So I was using some when I was heading head up. But I did find, because at the old house, I flooded my house so many times. I don't know how my wife did not murder me at this point. But it turns out after you get them wet a few times, the actual leak sensors, they will corrode and stop working. And so I did replace them all the ones that had previously gotten wet a couple times. I just replaced them.
You think the new ones? You think the new ones? That's probably a question we should probably ask. You think the new ones are the same thing, where they corrode?
Yeah. You see, so here's one of them that I'm trying to see. There are a couple. So here's one of the old ones, and I cleaned this one. I got vinegar. I got alcohol. Let me see if this will show up. So can you see the corrosion on these little plates?
Yeah, I can see that, man.
So this one got wet probably twice, and you know that's just what happened. I mean, they're $30, so it's a disposable item. You know, it's a consumable thing. But something I did not do that I do now is get a paper towel and like fold it over 4 times and then set it on top of the paper towel. So that way it's not like, if you do have a serious leak, it's not like submerged in water. And there also, it won't be picking up false alarms, basically. Like that paper towel would have to get soaked through for it to alarm. But if they do get wet, dry them off immediately or else they will corrode. So I've done that, learned that the hard way.
All right. Tell us, guys, if you have questions in the chat, please post them. But tell me a little bit about what you're doing with the Profilux, with the GHL controller.
So I bought it because I am an addict and just a complete. I have a sickness. That's the whole reason I bought it. Like, my thinking is like there is no telling how much money I have in the setup, and I would never dare add it all up for fear that my wife could somehow overhear this. But I mean, with the I mean, just thousands upon thousands of dollars of fish, same in corals, and so I've got a lot of livestock tied up in the system. And so I worked in industrial automation for about 10 years prior to I got out about 2 years ago. So I was in the oil field and, you know, installed automation, monitored it. So PLCs are my background. And I know all too well that technology does fail. It absolutely happens. Even with correct programming, you know, stuff will break. It will stop functioning. And so my thought was to have a completely separate ecosystem, totally separate backup, and run the Profilux full redundancy. So I have like leak detection with the Profilux, got optical sensor, stuff like that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to set up a redundant system going on. And I also got, so I have this guy as well, the KH director.
Wait, is that different from the other one you're running? Oh, you're a madman.
But for that, I bought that because I had issues with the KH monitor that is hooked up right now. It was a total limit. It like wouldn't work. And so I pre-ordered the GHL one and was going to send it back. They sent me a replacement unit that now works. So now I have two alkalinity monitors.
Have you ever tried to hook both of them up, see which one's more accurate, compare them with like a HANA checker? That'll be a great video because you'll be the only one with both. I can almost guarantee it.
Well, that's why I kept it. It's just for redundancy. I already have it. But yeah, like I think that the Profilux, I don't know if any of you guys have ever messed with the GHL products, but the Profilux is very industrial, and I think it's a great product. It is just a total nightmare to use. And I've put it off for over a year now, really digging into it beyond basically just programming it for my LED lights, just because it's extremely cumbersome to use. And the web app is just a nightmare compared to the Apex. So like there's not a whole lot of motivation for me to use it really. But I mean, honestly, like I'm in this house, like we'll be here for at least another 10 years. And so, you know, this is a very long-term system. Obviously, if you watch my videos with everything, like I think me and Alex, neither of us are ever moving ever. But, you know, with thinking 10 years down the road, something like a full-on secondary, you know, automation system, to me, it makes sense just because that's how I've ran stuff in the past industrially, but it's definitely overkill. Let's not get around that.
I have a GHL Doser 2.1 and I like it. There's some things I like about it better than the Neptune Dose. I think it's much smaller, more compact. But the software, I use Macs at home, and I had to go install Boot Camp on my Mac, Windows on my Mac to kind of at least get it set up, which, you know, was a pain. It took me an entire night staying up, find a copy of Windows. In fact, I had to buy a copy of Windows because I have no Windows. I only have Windows on my work machine. Buy a copy of Windows to install it on my Mac to get the software to work. Still can't get the Wi-Fi to work, so I just ran like a long cable, plugged it into my router. I like the doser, but the software is not very intuitive.
It sucks.
Yeah, it does. Well, you know, yeah, it sucks. Compared to the Apex. My wife could probably, with the instructions and a little bit of help, could probably get an Apex working. A GHL product, she would take it back to the store.
Exactly. And like I had to, am I presenting my screen? I'm getting a weird message. Is it just my face?
Is it? Yeah, it's just your face. You don't want just your face? All right.
No, I just want to make sure I wasn't like talking away and it's like showing my desktop or something.
No.
Sorry. But yeah, like I had to get one of the GHL guys on the phone to log into my computer, and I've got a normal Windows laptop for it, and it was like a 3.5 hour thing to get my lights programmed and connected to my Wi-Fi. Like it's just, you know, I could have this entire thing programmed in 3.5 hours via the Apex, you know, but I don't know. I'm sure it's a reliable system, but it's a nightmare to get it set up. I don't like it, but once it's running, supposedly they like don't ever fail. It seems very industrial, but it's not user friendly.
These guys are saying this is over their heads, but come on, guys. Like this is, I guarantee you will have when everyone has an Apex, it'll all make sense sometime. Exclusive, you had a question. You could go ahead.
No, I didn't have a question. Just was saying what's up. Daily, do you have any fans or any circulation in that room?
Yes, I have a lot. So I've got one 18-inch fan here. I've got a 12-inch fan here. Then I have my own AC, a mini split AC heater system there. And so that is my only way of temperature control in the tank. And I do have a 1 horsepower chiller that I can, you know, if the AC ever broke, I could hook up a chiller. But I'm in Texas, and so it gets, you know, 115 sometimes in the summer. But I've got, actually, I get a lot of geothermal heating and cooling with my system because I've got so much pipe underground. I ditched down about 2 feet in my yard and ran all this plumbing. And so in the summertime, it's dissipating a lot of the heat into the ground. And in wintertime, I'm getting heat from the ground. Because where I'm at, it stays exactly at 77 degrees in the ground. And so it actually worked out pretty well. But yeah, I mean, just the fans are basically to try to get rid of the humidity. I do have a dehumidifier, but that AC system is the only thing that is actually for temperature control.
So your fish room where you at right now, that is separate from the house. And then everything goes from the fish room to the house.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's like a shack?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So there's the tank way over there. So
damn.
Man.
So yeah, like I trenched all the way over there. And this is just, I mean, a shack, you know? And I did have to build on. So I added this whole wing over here to the shed. And that's where all the sumps and everything are.
That's a good idea, though. I like that.
And honestly, I was so nervous about it. But so we moved to this house last summer. And in my old house, just because the idea of gravity and just how it would work, I had no idea. And so I set up a fake setup in my garage and I just had to like loop the pipe to mimic the length of the runs. But I had the head height and the eventual dropout height. And so the water would have to come down, go underground, and come back up to go into the sump room. And so I had to like model that all out of my garage to make sure that, you know, gravity would actually push it this far. And it works fine. I mean, as long as you have an inch difference of where the water drains over your overflow in your tank to where it comes out, it'll come out the other end.
Someone's asking, go ahead, Exclusive.
I'm sorry. What pump are you using for the return?
The Abyss A400.
Okay.
It can do up to 6,000 gallons per hour. So I shoot it back about 85 feet, and then I go up 8 feet, and I'm getting about 3,000 gallons per hour turnover at about 2/3 of the pump turned up, around about 64%. That's a beast of a pump.
The pump runs 6,000 gallons per hour, and
Yeah.
you have it about 60%, and you're getting about 3,000, about
Yeah.
half. That's all the loss you're getting is
Yeah.
you're running about 60%, which should be, oh, geez.
It's unbelievable, man. And at the old house, I had, like, I'm an addict, but I ran piping up through the roof, or through the walls, into the roof and over, and ran my chiller in our laundry room, which was like 60 feet over. And so I had this, this closed loop going up to the ceiling and returning back, along with my manifold and the pump return. And my hammerhead pump could barely run that whole thing. And I tried the Royal exclusive pump, and it just couldn't do it. And I put the Abyss on, and it did all of that. So think like going up like 12 feet, over 50, down, and then back up. That loop, a manifold with like 5 outlets and a tank return, it did all of that at like 80%. I mean, the Abyss pump is just, it's unbelievable. And maxed out, I think it runs at like 380 watts or something like that. But I'm doing all of this here at this house at 192 watts, which is just wild,
What's your electric bill? Just
so the tank, our overall electric bill, like, because I average it out so the wife won't see the spiked months or when it gets really high. So monthly we pay like $240.
what? Come on, listen, man. I got a 75-gallon tank, and I'm like 150 sometimes.
But at the old house, it turns out, we moved from Austin to where we're at now, and I was still out of town. I just, signed up for utilities when I bought our house from out of town, and I just never changed. I never looked at our electric company. I don't know. And so I was paying like $550 a month at the old house for electric, and yeah, it turns out I just should have shopped around a little bit. But
oh man, geez. So I think New York we pay 19 cents per kilowatt hour.
That's right.
Yeah, we're at like 7.
19?
Yeah, we're on 19 cents per kilowatt hour. Yeah, that's the average, by the way. I mean, sometimes it's lower, but I looked at the average, 19 cents kilowatt hour.
You don't want to know what I pay then. You're going to be upset.
Don't tell me. What do you pay?
7
cents? That's what he said he just paid.
Yeah.
7 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah, we pay 19.
Most of my power is renewable.
See, maybe now when those people, because here in New York we have people that knock on our door and try to sell us, hey, change your electric company. Maybe I should listen to what they have to sell.
Yeah, listen to this spiel next time. But the last house did do wonders though, because if you go from like $550 a month down to $240 a month, that's nothing, So really overpay, and then it's an easy sell to do all this stuff because it costs next to nothing comparatively.
Daily, so I have a question. So your pipes go underneath the grass to your house, and then where do they go from there?
Okay, so beginning with the overflow, internal overflow of the tank. So those I run 4 inch-and-a-half drains down. Day one of renovating this house, I cut like a notebook sheet size of paper out of the wall. So I run those pipes out the wall, and then I cut a swath out of the porch and ran all that piping underneath the porch basically, and re-poured concrete on top of it all. And then porch comes out like 15 feet, and then from there I go down 2 feet in the yard, and then come all the way out here. And then once, let me get this stuff out. So it goes down 2 feet, and then it comes back up here. And so here's all the piping. So these are all the returns. This is a fresh water line that I had to run out here. And this is from the Abyss pump going back to the tank. But all of my returns come around, and then two returns come into my refugium, which is a 50-gallon horse trough, basically. And the other 2 returns each go into a ceiling roller mat. And also, Thielen roller mats, they're recommended at like 600 gallons per hour. I'm pushing, I don't even know, probably like 12 to 1400 an hour. And I still get 6 to 7 weeks out of these rolls. So these things are awesome. If you have a regular tank, they'll last you months before. And these rolls are like $30. So I highly recommend them. But yeah, so that's the 4 returns. And then this is the Abyss pump line going back up, and it just shoots back over. And the other, so this is my manifold. So my Red Dragon pump is down there. And this has kind of gone through some different usage, but right now, this outlet goes over to the large 150 gallons over there with the algae scrubber. And then my UV, and this is a GFO reactor currently. And that comes up over, so here's this crazy return going to my algae scrubber.
And that stall's still from the Abyss pump, right?
No, so this is all from the Red Dragon manifold. So I wanted to keep, because I've done that before, manifolded off my return, but and stuff just gets screwy a lot of times. So my Abyss is just for sending water back to the tank, and that's it.
All right.
Everything else is run off this Red Dragon.
All right, got a question. What's up with the Game Boy on the wall behind you? I think he's talking about the controller, the Apex controller. it looks a little bit like a Game Boy from here. Yeah, it does look like a Game Boy.
Oh,
all right.
It does.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Kind of showing her age.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, listen. Oh man, they think you purchased the entire BRS inventory when it was time.
Okay, so this is funny. So at BRS, they're the best guys in the world. Like, I love those dudes. So there's no telling how much money I've spent there, obviously, look around here. But I run a Skims calcium reactor down here. So this is the 4-foot tall calcium reactor. But I also used to run the, 2.5 foot tall reactor for my nitrate reactor. I got one. It was I bought it for this project when we moved, and so it sat in a box for over a year. And I got it out, set it up, was ready to turn it on, and the pump was frozen. It just didn't work. Like, I took it apart, and the impeller was like somehow glued into the pump, basically. So I called them up, and they couldn't find that replacement part. There was something about it. Like, they called Singapore, where Skims is made. They couldn't find it. And so they literally just told me to throw that one away, and they sent me an entire brand new reactor for free. They were like, yeah, I went to our manager, and I looked at your purchase history, so this one's on us. So,
yeah, the BRS is great.
I don't know if that's good or bad to be that well known, but
the BRS guys are great. I like them.
Hey, Jeff, it's good for you. Probably bad if your wife found out the purchase history, though.
That's why...
Yeah, my wife is watching, so we're not going to talk about purchase history or other things. Yeah, it's free. That Radeon, that was $100.
My wife has no idea how much I pay for any of this stuff.
Paid $100 for that Radeon. They're only 50, man.
I see. I overpaid.
Yeah, I'm about to say, dude, it's you can't tell the wives.
Listen, man. Whew, I'm getting nervous now.
Don't tell her about the hidden accounts you have.
Oh, listen, man, you guys are making me sweat now. I'm getting cold sweat.
I tell my wife how much I've spent. She doesn't like it, but
my wife just doesn't want to know.
She has kind of given up, although it is fun to take her to go coral and fish shopping, because she's been asked, well, I'll give you a deal, and she's been asked to name the price, and I'm like, oh, this will be fun.
Yeah, $5.
So here's the other side. So I've got the BRS 5-stage RODI.
Wait, hang on a second, Daily. So, Alex, I think when you're not talking, I'm going to mute you, all right? Just because I think it drowns out. No problem. I'll do it. It's just, all right, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so 5-stage RODI, and then this is my freshwater tank that is controlled by the Tunzi 8555 RO controller. And basically that thing, if you're not familiar with it, you have 2 level switches inside of here, and I just basically zip tied a piece of PVC pipe, because these are 100-gallon, pretty tall tanks. And so you can kind of see that piece of PVC is just hanging down. It's really hard to do with a laptop, but that PVC is just kind of a mount for those level switches. And so once it gets down about halfway, it trips this bottom switch and it automatically turns on and fills this tank back up. So I've always got at least 50 gallons of fresh water anytime, and then it'll fill back up to 100. And then just through valves, send it over to this tank, which is my saltwater tank. And then you all know how a mixing station works. Just turn on your pump with valves, and it just recirculates the salt in there. I will say, I did a video on this as well a while back, but this Tunzi controller, all it does is turn on, let's see here, it turns on and off this solenoid, which basically once this turns off, it is no longer feeding water to your RO system. And so you're good to go. It stops making water. However, this thing, which was about 3.5 years old, failed open. And whenever you unplug this solenoid valve is supposed to close shut all the time and only stay open when it is energized. But it failed open. And so I was still making water once the controller told it to shut off. And it was the weekend we went in to have our baby. And luckily I came out here and I've got all my salt bags over here, and I heard water dripping onto my salt bags. So I caught it luckily. Otherwise I would have had a serious flood out here. But it was out in my garage for 2.5 years. And I mean, 150, 160 degrees out there probably in the summertime. And so I'm betting that's what killed it prematurely. But another reason to get my leak sensor set up is stuff does fail. So you have to be ready for it.
I learned something new today, because I didn't even know that Tunzi made an RO water controller. So that's a new piece of equipment. I mean, it looks like it's very popular because it has a ton of reviews and a couple of places sell it, but I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's awesome up until it stopped working. But I mean, the controller didn't fail. The solenoid failed. But I was looking at trying to repair it, but I just chunked it and got a new one. They're $200. And I'm betting out here it should last a long time. But it just, you know, being in that hot of temperature, and that thing does get hot, like the actual solenoid valve itself gets hot while it's on. And so that coupled with being in a hot environment can't be good for electronics. So I still have my faith in it, but you just got to be cautious and have some sort of redundancy. But it's either this one or a Vast Marine also makes a RO container controller as well. Theirs is pressure. They have a pressure sensor. So in theory, it may be even more reliable than this one that uses level switches. But that one, I think it's got outputs to either turn on and off a solenoid. Or no, I'm thinking of a skimlet locker that has different like Apex options. This one just turns on and off the solenoid. So I think they're both $200. So I don't know. I've not had good luck with different Avast stuff. Some of their stuff is kind of cheap, in my opinion. So I've kind of shied away from Avast Marine. All
right. The water change system, what's that called again?
The Genesis Renew.
You think? Wow! I saw the guys at LA Fish Guys, that channel. That's where I saw them do a setup on it. That was really interesting. And when that's changing water, you don't see any kind of. You don't have to like shut off your ATO. Well, you know what? When you're changing a gallon at a time, the size of your system, I don't think it affects the water level anyway. So,
unless it's already down. But my ATO runs for like 5 minutes at a time. But if it's already pretty low and about to turn on anyway, it'll definitely trigger it. But for sure, if you have a smaller system, a normal system, yeah, it will trigger it. They sell an ATO module along with it that communicates. I think it's called the Storm. Mm-hmm. And so it'll basically turn off the ATO all in one unit while it's changing water. So what I did was just program a delay on my ATO. And so it has to stay low level for 3 minutes before it'll turn on. So that's how I got around it.
All right.
If you have an Apex,
All right.
that's easy. You just add a delay on your ATO.
And I think, even if you go over a gallon or something on that size system, it doesn't.
I could dump 50 gallons of
Doesn't
water.
Yeah. All right. So I think people want to see your dashboard now. I've seen a couple questions asking about your dashboard. So unless there's, man. All right. Let's see the dashboard if you can. You know how to do it? There's a green button that says screen share. Actually, what I do, so I don't have to share my entire computer screen, I'll open my Apex dashboard in a new window completely, not even a new tab, and then hit the green screen share and hit share tab or share application window. So you'll only, no matter what you're doing, you'll only share that application window.
Let's see here. Okay, so this is from the. Oh wait, I see what you're talking about here. So the green screen share button, hit that.
Yep. Green screen share, and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
All right, there you go.
Okay, so y'all can see
I
this.
had a lot on my screen.
Yep.
Okay, so here's my screen. So let's start from top left. So I got my feed cycle. The only thing I use is feed A. I've got that program. So I've got the Apex adapter for my biz pump. So when I hit the feed A, it cuts my biz pump down to, I think, like 40%. And that's just enough to prevent back siphoning. I've got the Apex auto feeder on here. So I've got tons of Anthias. If y'all have seen my videos, I don't even know. I probably got 40 Anthias in my tank. And so I feed once at 9 a.m. and once at 2 p.m. And then randomly, if I just want to, I can feed from here as well. So that controls the auto feeder. And then I use on here, I actually really like being able to log measurements. Basically, I use my KH and PO4 measurements. And also, if you guys have followed my channel, I have been battling a serious phosphate battle. Like I was up at, I think, 0.5, and I brought it down. Check this out, just so I can brag about this. Look at this, 0.02. That is some serious victory right there.
Show the graph. And how did you do it? Was it with GFO, the algae scrubber?
So I use GFO and lanthanum chloride.
Oh.
So let's do it all.
Oh, wow.
0.39. So that was October. So at 0.4, and I brought it down to 0.02. So that's quite a victory for me. And then the other interesting thing, monitoring your alkalinity with an electronic monitor, is the conversion. And so right now, like it's gone down, and these measurements, by the way, these are my Hanna checker measurements. And so I'm going off the premise that my lab grade KH monitor over here is going to be more accurate than my Hanna checker. And so currently I'm at, this was back on the 7th, I was showing 7.28 with my Hanna checker, and my alkalinity monitor is closer to like 8.1. And so, I mean, this is where the numbers don't matter. As long as you're stable, that's all that matters. As long as you're within an acceptable range, that's all that really matters.
Can you overlay that with can you put in the ALK from the alkalinity monitor over the Apex? Can you do those two graphs there?
Let's see here.
You might have to go in the main graphing area to do that. So while you're doing that, do you do any dosing based off of what the ALK monitor says, or do you just hand dose it, or have a dosing program that doesn't alter whenever it tests?
Yeah, everything is just via my calcium reactor. So if I see a downward trend for like a week, at that point, I will go and adjust my CO2 regulator on-off points. But like day to day, absolutely not. I mean, there's just little swings don't really matter. I mean, if I go from like 8.1 down to 7.9 in a week, yeah, it's time to dump some more CO2 in there, or less. And so if your alk is going, I'm thinking CO2. So if your alk is going down quite a bit over like a week period, then I'm going to start injecting more CO2 into my reactor to up that. But day to day, I just don't see any need to try to control it like hour by hour kind of thing. It's just kind of pointless in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how I'm going to act when the Trident finally comes out.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
I don't think I'll trust it for anything other than monitoring for at least a year.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't ever see myself like automated dosing, you know, because if your ATO fails and you dump too much water and then the alk drops or goes out, I think you could possibly compound one problem on top of another.
Yeah,
so,
you can.
So
I saw you run. You've ran your alk. I think I saw the highest was like maybe 10, and now you're at like in the mid 70s. What do you think your tank ran better at? Higher alk or lower alk?
I think a lower alk. I think 8.0 is a sweet spot in my opinion.
Said 8.0 is that sweet spot for you?
Yeah, I think so. Like somewhere 8 to 9. If you get above 9, I think just kind of get squirrely in my opinion. And again, if you're consistent at 10.0, you're probably going to be fine, you know, if you're rock solid. But I don't like going below 8, and I don't really like going in the higher numbers, because if something goes wrong, then there's just less room for error there, you know.
That's the same. I like my. I mean, I don't have any SPS anymore. I killed them, but I think they looked best when it was about 7, a little over 7. But I just feel uncomfortable with it being at 7, because I feel like 6 is kind of a danger area, and if anything happens and it drops, you're right in that danger zone. So I try to keep it about 8, where even if, you know, whatever happens, I miss a week of testing, I miss 2 weeks of testing, and it drops slowly, it can only drop from 8 to 7. It won't drop from 7 to 6. So I think I keep it at 8. But when I had, you know, some decent size SPS colonies, 7 was what I thought my tank looked best at.
And let me show, and what I'm doing. So here's how I'm utilizing that technology. So right now, like you can see from March 21st, something's going on with it. It stopped reading. Anytime it says this 5.1, that's like their error. So when you see that measurement, that means that something's going wrong. It could just be an error with the like a probe or something. So I've got to dig in and see what's going on. But up until this point, it's been at 9.31, and it started at 9.02 back about a week ago. So what I'm doing with this is I'm basically just taking an average of this 9.0 versus my Hannah checkers, like, you know, 7.5 kind of thing. And I'm guessing somewhere in there is probably accurate, you know, just meet in the middle. Now this could be spot on and the Hannah checker is way off. Who knows? You know, I don't have the capability to get any finer measurement than this, but I do know that either 7.28 or 9.02, either one of those is totally fine as long as it's stable. And so anywhere in between, I'm just picking a number kind of thing. But so that's why it's just, you know, you never know what to trust exactly, but you just pick something that works and just stick to it and you're fine. So this shows like 9.2, but I'm guessing it's probably closer to like the 8.5, maybe lower mark. In reality.
A reference solution would tell you.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you just put, you know, put both probes, or, you know, you test your Hannah with the reference solution, and then test, you know, you put your probe in the reference solution for that, and you know that the reference solution is, what is it, 8.0 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be a good way to, if you ever really wanted to know which one is more accurate. You know, I know BRS sells reference solution.
Yeah, definitely something just for the heck of it. But, you know, as far as practicality's sake, you know, again, just find a number and just keep it at that, and you'll be good. So moving on. So yeah, so these are my manual measurements for and then phosphate, and that's pretty much all that I test for. I test nitrates like twice a year. I'm going to start testing them more now that I took my nitrate reactor offline, and we'll see if I start getting some nitrates. But the ATO low and high, this is my Neptune ATK. So these are the optical sensors. And right now the pump is shut off, so it's not deafening in here. So they're both high leveled. And then for my pump, I use a Stenner peristaltic, like heavy duty pump. it's super loud that you would never want to use in your house, but it's, it's perfect out here. So this will turn that outlet on. And then, just your normal graphs. I do map air temperature in here just so I can, because my ambient temperature is my heating cooling system for the tank. And so I basically just put in another, Neptune temperature, $30 temperature sensor, and then just kind of stapled it to the wall. And so this is how I keep track. So this actually has saved me during the winter when it was like 20 degrees outside. My door, I forgot to latch it and it blew open. And so I got an air temp alarm, and otherwise I would not have known that, it was open until my tank had sunk down like 2 degrees. So that's why I monitor air temperature. Otherwise, who cares? But this is the pH of my calcium reactor. I don't do like what Rico does and what you probably should be doing of having a steady, always on bubble count. I've tried several times and it's just taken too much effort and I don't have the patience for it. And so I just have my solenoid turn on and off at my set points. I have them set 0.1 off. And so as far as the pH in there, so right now I've got it set, let's see, CO2 regulator. So on at 7.05, off at 6.95.
Okay.
I've got a constant stream always pushing through. I have a medical grade Cole Palmer pump that's always shooting water through there at a constant rate. And so that's why I can run a higher pH in that reactor, is because I need a less concentrated dose since there's always water flowing through there. If you just have like a needle valve and you're dripping, 1 drop a second, then your pH is going to be like, 6.4, 6.5, because you need a more concentrated dose because you have less water. So that's how I run mine. So here, I need to check this once we're done here and see why this is airing out. Salinity, I calibrated this thing when I put it on, and this is way high. I just never taken the time to fix it. Basically, I use this as a median, and if it deviates a ton, then I'll look at it. But the actual reading, I don't care about.
Yeah, I never got mine to work. Mine is sitting at 1.5 now. I just don't care.
This is another one of the things where it's all about just a baseline and monitoring deviation. So if this drops to 31, then I know that there's something going on. If it goes up to 40, then I need to check it. But I don't actually care about this number. And my pH used to run quite a bit lower, but it's like everyone else, I've hooked up an outside line. I'll go back further. So it didn't make a huge difference. And I think a lot of that is this shed is not airtight by any means. And so I was probably already getting a lot of fresh air anyway, but it seems to have brought it up. Like I don't ever dip below 8.0 anymore. So I think it's helped a little, but I just did that just for the heck of it. And then my EB8 power monitoring. So these are my two EB8 or the 832s. I also have 3 more EB8s, the old school power strips inside the house under the tank. Those are for some stuff I'll talk about here in a second. So obviously I've got everything turned off right now just to shut off noise, but these are my flow monitors. So this is that 1.5 inch I showed you earlier, UV, and then I've got 2 1/4 inch flow monitors, one for my calcium reactor and one for my Miracle Mud reactor. This used to be my nitrate reactor, but I just left it on here for that Miracle Mud reactor. But these always save me because I always forget to turn my pumps back on after I do a video, and so I'll always get alerted. I need to hook these up to the Apex to alarm me, but I'm lazy. Then I run ozone up until I added this big 150-gallon sump behind me, and I need to replumb my ozone reactor, but I do have this set up to run from midnight to 6 a.m. Here's the variable speed input or the output for my biz, so that will control the percentage that my pump runs. Calcium reactor. I mean, do you want me to go? Like, I don't want to bore you.
No. You don't have to go through. I think we're looking at the main one: skimmer, refugium, scrubber, the mitris. I thought you had, so I definitely want to ask you about the mitris. I thought you had that on a GHL. Oh, you're just using them basically to switch them on and off here.
So yeah, in case like today I got a fish, and so I turned off the 2 lights over that section I was floating it in. And so yeah, these are just a hard cut off is all these are. And I have T5 fixtures on the front and back of my canopy. And so like right now I've got the lid up, so I turned off the T5s.
All right. All right. I mean, did you see Biz's setup? His dashboard is crazy. That guy's nuts. But okay.
So yeah, there's just a lot going on.
I think TMG had a question. I think you wanted to know, like, what made you kind of I can't remember the question, but essentially he wanted to ask you, like, why did you went sort of overkill with the Apex versus, you know, I think he wanted to compare and contrast with, let's say, Alex, who has a big system but didn't like go crazy with the technology.
Yeah, so very simple answer. 100%. Like that's what I love about this hobby is it can be whatever you want. Some people love the display and they hate everything else, but they put up with the sump and refugium, all that crap, just because they need it. Personally, I love the technology piece. I'm in this hobby and I have this whole setup equally for the display tank and for all of this stuff because, you know, I was in, like I said, industrial automation for 10 years. And so I just love that job and I love automation. So, you know, this is all stuff just to tinker with. And so this 100% is unnecessary. Like, Alex, do you even have an Apex? Does he? Waiting is intense.
Yeah, I think his hand is probably wet. So, you know, it's hard to unmute when your fingers are wet. So we'll give him. He's trying to slide and then click that button. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up?
What's OG? Hey, listen, I just want to say congratulations again on the baby.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Much appreciated.
And listen, so you got into the fish hobby. Did you ever think you would turn into a scientist? Oh, my God.
Yeah, I started with a 55-gallon and like a yellow tank, like, I don't know, I think 13 years ago. And it's just, I actually went through my most recent tank before my last house where I had a 300-gallon that leaked. And I have my 500 now. Prior to that was a 32-gallon BioCube. And so made a slight jump from that to now. But I do not do moderation well. Luckily, I'm not a drinker because I wouldn't stand a chance. But yeah, I possess no sense of moderation. But, you know, it is, you make of it whatever you want it to be, you know?
Whatever you do not let O visit your fish room. He'll never leave.
He's far enough away.
O's wife would never let him come see this thing.
Wow.
It's moving time. It's moving time. So, you know.
Yeah, listen, O's looking for a job. He might get a job in Texas.
I'll hire you to run the fish shack. You gonna stay out here full time?
Hey, Alex, I think you got it. You got the mute now, Alex, right?
Yeah, right. I think was this referring to the high tech versus low tech?
Versus, yeah.
So I'll take a little stab at it from my perspective. If anybody doesn't know, I work in wireless telecommunications, and I worked in switching facilities that had literally hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment in them. Billions of dollars could be lost a day. And I worked with a lot of automation systems, and I think that Jeff is going the right way in terms, from my perspective, of he's putting double redundancy and backups on things, where I'm kind of taking the other approach of I want some things on my controller, but some critical systems that I'm not going to put a double redundancy on with a controller or a monitor of some kind, I'm just going to let them run. Just because I've seen what happens when an industrial controller that someone spent $500,000 on decides to fail because a line of code wasn't right, and a building goes from 75 degrees to like 120 degrees in like 20 minutes because the cooling failed. So I kind of look at it, some of my stuff, I just let it run. I don't care if my water's running empty, the reflow hammerhead's gonna still try to pump water dry, and I'm fine with that.
All right. I'm probably more closer to Jeff. It's just that I have a smaller system. But Jeff, I'll be there one day, and I have a house. You know, I'll be there slowly. I think I've tried every Apex module ever, except, you know, I can't think of an Apex module I haven't tried because, you know, like, ooh, something shiny. And then I realize it's not for me, but I think I've tried. I think the one thing I've never used that's new, I think Neptune Systems has like a solenoid, right? Yeah, they have a solenoid. I've never used that. Never had a need, but I will one day.
I got one. Oh.
See,
I have a solenoid too.
My RODI system is. Oh, you have a solenoid, Brian. My RODI system, I keep it. This is an apartment, so I kind of break it down and as I need it. So there's no need for sort of like a solenoid because it's not a permanent setup.
Brian, is it just like this Toonsy solenoid where it's normally closed and only open when it's energized?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I bought one as well. I bought a solenoid at Magna last year. Like same thing. Like it was a shiny toy at the Magna booth, and so I just bought one.
Yeah, I got it. I don't need it really.
Yeah, I was gonna run it,
but I don't need it.
I was gonna run it on the RODI line as a backup to basically, if this thing ever failed again, my leak sensor would kick on, and then it would shut that solenoid off. But like, I just can't see that thing lasting, like being energized all day, every day.
Yeah.
Forever.
I use mine for my ATO. The only thing you can really use it for is either an ATO. You can use it for your RODI, or you can use it for air or carbon dioxide. You can't use it for anything else. You cannot use it for salt water.
Gotcha.
Oh, you cannot.
It's also not rated for CO2, by the way, because I was looking into that. I was going to buy one for a backup because I was buying redundancy stuff for my calcium reactor. I was going to buy one as a backup, and I looked into it, and they are not CO2 rated, just FYI. They're not made for that. So just in case anybody was thinking about using it for a calcium reactor, unfortunately it cannot, because that would be awesome if you could, but sadly my research.
See, I read that at least on Neptune it said that they can.
You did?
Yeah, I read somewhere. I was just going to say that I read somewhere that you can.
I was going to say they're rated for water and CO2 is what I read.
Oh.
I would happily be wrong, because if you could use that as a calcium rack, like a CO2 regulator, that would be incredible for $30. So double check it. Maybe I'm completely wrong. If so, I apologize.
Only fresh water though. You can't do salt water. I actually opened a ticket with Neptune asking them that. Can I use this for salt water? Like, nope.
Okay, right on the BRS description, it says CO2 systems on calcium reactors.
It is rated for that?
Yeah, it says CO2 system. I don't know how long it'll last. I guess we have to ask. I don't know. But the cool thing about these is, you know, as with Neptune kind of rope us in, is it doesn't use an outlet. Like you could plug this thing right into the DC 24 ports on your FMM. Like I was going to sell my FMM module, the one with the flow sensors, because I bought the kit. And then again, after I think Brian cost me some pocket money after his stream, because then there were a bunch of stuff I was deciding to sell that I'm now not going to sell. But that's how Neptune kind of gets us, because like if you use their solenoid, you don't necessarily, you know, you just use it on the DC 24 port. It connects right on the EB8s, which I have 2, and also you can use it on the FMM modules, which I have 2.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question. I don't know if it was covered already. How's the Miracle Mud reactor going?
So the effects of it, I don't know. Honestly, I mean, is it a gimmick, Miracle Mud? I don't know. Am I underutilizing it? I don't know. But the actual, the reactor itself is working great. So I've got it. So again, this is a 4-foot tall Aquamax reactor. Or Aqua Excel, I think. But yeah, so I've got like, I don't know, probably 18 inches of Miracle Mud. And I use, I think this without dumping my laptop. So I use one of these Cole Parmer peristaltic pumps to push water through that. And it's turned off too, but it's a slow drip. And so the process of the reactor has worked perfectly. Like after that first day, all the fines settle down and it's just clear water running through. Now, the effectiveness of Miracle Mud, I mean, at this point, I would say it's a complete waste of money, but
Oh, wow.
you know, your mileage may vary.
I always said the whole trace elements thing I can't prove, but in terms of as a refugium substrate, if you're trying to grow pods, because I've tried different grain sands and everything, but there's something about, and I think it's a grain size. I think it has to do with the grain size. But if you're using it, because I have 2 mandarins in my 75, and it's the Miracle Mud substrate that I think, you know, breeds the pods. They don't eat frozen at all. So I have 2 mandarins growing in a 75, and I think there's something with the substrate size that makes it like the perfect refugium substrate. But the trace element stuff, that's always hard to prove. And if people ask me why I use it, that's why I use it.
Now, I'll be honest. If I think my brain is going to explode if I hear the words bubble scrubbing or Miracle Mud on the screen ever again. I've heard a live quota on these live shows, people talking about bubble scrubbing, Miracle Mud, and it makes my soul sad to hear about it anymore. So,
Wow.
But, you know, I personally have not seen any real difference. That first day, all extension was crazy when all the stuff was, you know, floating through the air. My water looked like milk chocolate. Since then, I've seen no difference. But I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong and they're not using enough. I could be wrong. But in my anecdotal experience, I've seen no real use for it.
All right, that's fair. That's cool.
DC, I did not mean to offend you on bubble scrubbing. I know you are a scrubbing advocate, and you scrub to your heart's content, my man. I'm not hating. I think we have discussed it to death.
Oh, bubble scrubbing.
I haven't tried it in my system, so
I'm not debating the effectiveness of bubble scrubbing. I've heard a lot of people talk good about it. I just don't want to hear about it anymore.
Oh, I see.
Bless your heart.
All right.
But,
so no more bubble scrubbing, no more Miracle Mud on O's Tech Talk streams. This is strictly tech. All right. I'll do it. And a lot of people are agreeing. They didn't see much difference with Miracle Mud or bubble scrubbing. Saw a bit of a pH increase at night. See, actually, what I'm hooking. Oh man, the last thing about bubble scrubbing is an apartment, 4 of us. It's hard to keep my pH at a decent level. So what I do with the Tom's Aqua Lifter, because it pulls in, so I run the line outside. So it's just I went from the big old Vertex skimmer, which pull like 1,600 liters of air per hour, now to a Tunzi, which does about 600. So, you know, my pH used to get to 8.1 during the day. Now I have a hard time getting it to about 8 because it's not pulling as much air. So I'm using bubble scrubbing again. I kind of disconnected it because I was doing something and it got disconnected and I didn't care. But I'm doing it again as a way to sort of keep my pH at night. So that's why I'm doing. And, you know, because it's a way to pull air. If I had another way to pull air in, you know, and to get it into the system at night to get outside air in, I would. But that's why I'm bubble scrubbing now.
Look, hey, Seymour, question. On you running the hose outside, do you run any net or anything to block like bugs from coming in?
Yeah, I use I get a little, I have like a little, I think it's an inch of soft PVC that I push through the window. I pull the window down, and then, you know, like that insulation that you use to seal up your AC. You know, apartment, you got to get like, this is like the AC insulation. Then I push that in and close the window. But you said you're close to a highway. Like I'm not close to a highway. So I think you can't fully close your window or use insulation because otherwise you get all the noise from the highway. So I don't really have that issue. Just the insulation.
No, I'm talking about bugs from getting in through the pipe.
Oh, just a piece of mesh on the outside, and you rubber band it over it. That's it.
I use mesh, and then I also have a PVC cylinder filled up with activated carbon too. Yeah, just so that anything getting sucked in from outside, like if my neighbor decides to spray pesticides or something, it should hopefully get filtered out before it gets into my tank.
Because in the summer we get a lot of mosquitoes here because of the bay. I'm close to a bay here.
I don't get anything. I get that nice. There's a Chinese store downstairs. I get that nice Chinese food smell though. Maybe that's, you know, I don't know. I think that helps my pH, but I don't do any carbon or anything. Goes right into the skimmer. So.
Thanks for Mongolian before long, dude.
Yeah, man. I do. I can't smell it tonight. I think my mind is still coming off of the Memphis barbecue, but you know, but yeah, I get that Chinese store. You know, Chinese.
So what's the deal, man? You moving?
Moving, man. Listen, man. It was a job interview. I never said anything about moving. Right now, nothing's settled. It's just a job interview. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Is it a work from home situation or are you moving out there?
No. Right now, work from home. I'm a work from. Yeah, it's a work from home. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. Today is going to be a shorter stream, guys, because I've been on the road for like 2 or 3 days. I'm a little bit tired. So if you have any questions for Jeff, please, you know, you have a few minutes because I know Jeff has a newborn he needs to get back to. So let us give us a question in the next couple of minutes. Anything else, guys? Anything you think I missed? Any questions? Brian dropped off. Bubba says Bubbles killed his. Billy said Bubbles killed his torch. I don't know. All right, but I did promise no more bubbles. So let me ignore the bubble scrubbing questions.
Look, on that, let me just say, I love your success, man. I love the idea of bubble scrubbing. I have nothing against it. It's just that I have heard about bubble scrubbing since like September of 2017. I can't take it. But I want your success. Okay, I want it. I don't want to hear about it.
All right. Someone is asking what is an auto feeder?
Are you asking what I feed?
Let me get out of here. Have a good night, guys.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Yeah, what do you feed in your auto feeder?
So I use, because I have so many Anthias, I feed off BRS. It's the hatchery diet, I think. It's really tiny pellets that work very well for Anthia. Dry hatchery diet from BRS. They sink very quickly. Sustainable Aquatics 0.8 millimeter pellets is what I use, and they work very well, and they sink very quickly. And I good luck with those.
Which size do you feed? Is it the 8? Is it the 0.8 millimeter or the 1.2?
The 0.8.
All right. I have an Anthias. I don't think I'm going to do another Anthias because I've been trying to reduce the bioload, and I never got him to eat, you know, pellets or frozen at any consistent. And I think it died now. And I think one of the reasons is I simply couldn't feed it enough, you know, often enough, because I didn't feel like feeding frozen every day. But it's just a good thing. I've never tried this, but I'll just keep this in the you know, I'll try it.
Hey Jeff, I got a question. I'm curious. I'm sure a lot of people are, but probably think they shouldn't ask. How much do you think you dropped into your system as far as money? I'm gonna tell you. I would say 150,000.
What?
Okay, so
between tank and everything.
So I'm not going to answer that because I don't want to admit it to myself. Honestly, I've never added it up because it would be well over a Range Rover. But I mean, my tank. I mean, anytime you get into a big tank, it's just unbelievably expensive. But this kind of tank, especially like here recently, I've been doing videos on sanding the acrylic.
Yeah.
So as long as I don't do something stupid, like I can keep this tank like for life kind of deal. So the tank and aluminum stand was like $8,000, I think. And that was for the sump, tank, and aluminum stand was like $8,000.
Mm-hmm.
That is for a 500-gallon acrylic tank setup.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. I would have thought it'd been much more.
Yeah.
The tank is always the cheapest part, man. It's once you go to fill it up and run it, that's when you get into trouble. But
right.
you know, like my biz pump, that thing, I got it on Black Friday. It was like $2,100. My Bubble King skimmer is
Wow.
$2,000. I mean, it's
insane.
Don't say it out loud, man. My wife's watching. Just, you know.
Just tell her, hey, at least I don't have what he has. So good work for you.
Wow.
I mean, Mrs. Daly is recording. Dave, don't encourage to listen in on this. No, I don't think she wants to know either, but she knows how much money I've wasted, spent, whatever you want to call it. But man, it's a lot. But this is not something like I'll be in this hobby for the rest of my life kind of thing. And so even if we move, pretty much everything I bought can be relocated and reused on any system. But it's, you know, I'm not going anywhere. Everything I've got now can last a good 10 years, and all the equipment wise. And so the only,
and you know what, like, I don't even have a saltwater tank. I got a 72-gallon freshwater tank, and I think about all the money I've dropped on little knickknacks and this and that over the years. So I can only imagine what you spent.
Yeah, and then I had to, you know, I found a really good contractor who helped me out remodel the house. But you know, even because this was just this is a building now, but before it was just, you know, 2x4 walls and just nothing. So we had to finish this out, build on. So it was a huge investment. But you know, like if your life can accommodate an investment like that, and if it's something you're into,
right?
Then, you know, personally, I'm all about it. If it makes sense for your life. If it doesn't, like if you're gonna go broke and you have to, like, you know, not feed your baby but once a day or something to have a fish tank, like you need to reevaluate your life. You know, if your hobby can fit in with your life, you know.
Listen, if you can afford it, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our hobbies, and do what you want to do. You know, like, you know, if your thing is like a 2-gallon Pico tank with, you know, minimal stuff, it is what it is. Like, we all have the same organisms, and you all have the same basic process. And from there, you just put into it whatever you want to get your enjoyment out of it. So,
do you have any major upgrades planned, or just little add-ons here and there?
Literally, I don't think there's anything else that I could buy that I haven't bought already.
Right.
My only thing, my only regret as far as purchases go is my lights. Because these nitrous lights are good. I'm getting great growth. The coloration's getting better. But I really wish I would have gone Radions, mainly so they could integrate with the Apex. Because if I want to make any changes or anything other than just straight up shutting them off, I have to log into a separate computer and modify them, which every day I regret it. And they're very hard to tune color-wise. After 6 months, I'm finally getting closer to where I want to be with just tinkering. But that's my only regret. But they're still good. They're great lights. They just take more work. But upgrades, yeah, man, it's just little stuff. Like, the biggest thing is going to be getting the JHL Propellant system online this year. But I'm not in a hurry because it's, you know, this, like we all know, like it's addicting. You know, like the hobby's addicting, and it's always good to have something else to tinker with if you're like me. And so I'm not in any hurry to get everything done because, heaven forbid, I find an additional hobby and I don't need that with a newborn. So I'm just gonna stretch out what I've already got and make it last for a while.
Are you in a reef club down there?
Dude, like, I'm not exaggerating. So I'm in Odessa, Texas, middle of West Texas desert. Without exaggeration, the only person I know in my town of 130,000 people, I know one person with a reef tank who literally lives next door to me.
Your next door neighbor.
Yeah, and I happened to, this house came up for sale randomly next to him. But I knew him about a year before. But I know one other person with a reef tank, and there is one fish store about 30 miles away. And I've gone in the past 2 times; they've had 0 fish and 0 pulls in their tank.
What?
It's a joke.
What?
I mean, Petco. Like, we got a Petco a couple of years ago. Petco has more stuff than my local fish store. It's insane. Wow. Like, it's the saddest thing. So everything is online. Live Aquaria, Divers Den. That's how I have to get everything, livestock wise.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Hey, CJ, you had a question, CJ?
CJ, what up, man?
I'm just in here chilling, listening in, man.
All right.
Hey, what's up, CJ?
Just setting up this laptop I just got so I can get this Senai working and stuff. That's crazy. I had to buy a new laptop for a Senai. It's ridiculous.
That Senai got real expensive on you, man.
It did, man. I just spent the Radeon.
Wait, why'd you have to buy a new laptop for the Radeon, for the Senai?
Because my dinosaur wasn't compatible with the Senai, man. And I didn't have one laptop in the house that was old, that was newer than Windows 7.
Oh,
My
man.
other sons, they got Chromebooks, and Chromebooks you can't install stuff on.
Yeah, man. Okay. Sorry to hear that.
Nah, it's all right. It was due, man. It was 15 years old. I had a 15-year-old laptop, I confess.
You're
15. Oh God.
one thing about the Senai that people don't, and I just realized it recently, if you just get some power to it, like plug it into one of those iPhone chargers and put it in your tank, it still takes readings. It'll take up to, I think, 30 days of readings. And then when you plug it into your computer, it uploads it to the servers. So even if you don't have to hook it up to your laptop to have it take readings. If you just want to take like light readings over time, you can just put it in the tank and put power to it. It takes the readings and it records them. But then when you plug it in, it syncs everything to the cloud. So then you can go back and say, okay, what was the trend over the last 30 days? So I just bought the little float thing to have it float in a section of my tank. And I'll plug it in periodically and leave it there just so I can, monitor some readings.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if I get pneumonia readings. I think I got one badge with one patch that came with it I can use.
All right.
So that might be interesting.
All right. One last question. I think, are you happy with the mitras? I think you just answered this, but quickly.
Yeah, Phil, no, not really. I got them I ordered them via Macna, and they were, normally I think they're $750 each. They're $50 cheaper than Radeons, and with the Magna discount, I think they were like $685. And so that was the main factor, honestly, because I needed 6 of them. And so that was the main factor. Everything I read online said you couldn't go wrong with either light, basically. And the biggest reason I went mitras was Scott Leaf's tank on YouTube. He's got a real similar size tank as me, and he's a technology addict like I am. But his tank is just incredible looking. So overall, no, I'm not happy with them. They don't integrate. So I'm obviously very heavily invested in Apex. They don't integrate with Apex, and you have to like fiddle with the colors a lot to get the spectrum and brightness right. The thing that I found that my biggest pet peeve is everything is like blown out looking in my tank. I've got a 3-foot deep tank, so I used to run them at 80%. I've cranked them down to 60%, and it's still like everything is just really bright looking instead of like that kind of cool glow you get from Radeons. It's just like almost like someone like shining a high-powered flashlight down at the rocks. So it's almost just kind of like too bright looking. I've turned everything down. I'm starting to mess with the colors and bring some of the whites pretty much off, and it's looking a little bit better. But yeah, if I had to do it again, I would definitely get Radeons 100%.
Do you also run in T5s? I thought I saw that in your Apex. You also run in T5s. Is that helping with the color a little bit?
It does, and it's a hard balance, man. And so I used to run AI Hydra 52s, like the old school ones from years ago before the HDs came out. And I think the color was much easier to get a good mix of LED T5 on those AI lights than it has been with these mitras. I'm getting there, but it's just, it's probably, I should probably preface this, for people with normal sized tanks, it's probably not as big of an issue because you don't need to turn them up as high to get that reach to the bottom of a 3-foot tank. And so if you've got a 20-inch deep tank or something, then you're going to have them low anyways. You don't fry your tank, and I'm sure they look fine. And so just with a really deep tank where you need to crank them up, everything gets washed out really easily from my experience.
All right.
Hey Jeff, did you after last week when the biz came on,
Yes.
did you apply any of that stuff that he was putting out there about the Apex system?
Yes, I did. So were you on that stream as well?
Yeah, I was listening.
Yeah, so because I asked him how to basically get rid of the high-level sync alarms when I go into feed mode, and it was literally like one line of code, and it got rid of a year's worth of annoyance I've been putting up with every time I go into feed mode. So I did that. I tried the power monitoring alarms, though. I could not get that to work. And so I need to look more into that. But my biggest annoyance, he did fix for me. So
the power monitoring alarms, and when something goes below a certain wattage or so, to alarm you, let you know.
Yes. So,
right.
like, let me go on here real quick. I tried to go in there, and I think it like wouldn't let me submit it. It's like the code was wrong or something. Here, let me go back. So, do you know how to do it all?
Yeah, basically it's like if watt less than this, it's like a temperature code, except you use wattage or amps or, you know.
Okay. So I need to go on my alarm, my email, right?
Okay.
Right. Is this where I need to be writing this? It's under my the email alarm.
Yeah. Let me pull up my code and just
let's say.
So let's say I have one on my core pump. No, that's not the core. I want need the power.
Doesn't Apex have a forum where you can go on and get answers?
They do. They have a very good forum. I'm just lazy. Yeah, you can find pretty much any answer you want if you have the time. So does this look right?
Less than 100 watts. Hang on a second. Give me 1 sec. Let me pull it up and make sure I'm telling you the right thing. I know I have a bunch of alarm. Wait, hang on. No, okay. You know what? You put it in the alarm. Sorry, you don't put it there. So delete that. That's not where it goes. It actually goes into the alarm. Yeah. So you have email alarm. Oh, I didn't realize. No, right there. It's right there. Okay. Sorry. So if output a biz, yeah. No. So you do watts first, and then less than 40, less than 100. So watts first.
Maybe that's what I was doing. It's watts less.
Yeah, less, and then put a space between. Yeah, then on. Yep.
I think that's what I did because I put the watts after.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You know what? If temp. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it now, and based on the other stuff you program, it should have been, it sounds like it would have been, you always put the name of the outlet first and then the numbers after, but I guess this one is a little bit different.
Yeah, anytime you do things with outlets, specifically, it's weird because you have to do, like, for anyone else, like if you want to alarm when a certain outlet's on, you have to do like if outlet of biz equal.
Wait, Jeff. So I think I gave you some wrong thing. Instead of outlet, output. Sorry, output. Yeah, sorry, output. Yep. So yeah, sorry, outlet is something completely different. It's output. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've basically set it up to if my core runs at usually, 42, 43 watts. So I'll set it up. I've done some basic testing. So I use a bag of carbon. So if my bag of carbon gets loose and like sits in front of the pump, it usually goes below like 40 watts. So I've set up my return pump to let me know whenever it goes below 40 watts to let me know. It's gonna annoy you now because you probably turned off your pump, so you're probably gonna get an alarm now. But yeah, that's what I've done. I've set up mine to if it's blocked, it goes below 40 watts. That works for me.
That's pretty simple. Yeah, it's always little stuff like that. That little stuff gets you every time.
Yeah. This stuff is fun. It is fun, and I haven't started to take advantage of, like some of the stuff I saw the biz doing. I mean, man, but I'm gonna get there. Might not be with this tank, but I'm gonna get there sometime soon.
Sky's the limit, man.
I am gonna end this right now. I know it's been fun talking to Jeff, but like I said, it's been a crazy week traveling wise, and I really need to go, rest up. But I want to thank Jeff from Daily Reefing again. I'm gonna put a link to your channel in the.
Hey Jeff, it was a blast.
I appreciate it. You the man.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Jeff.
Yeah.
All right, Alex. All right, O.
All right, thank you. Wait, guys, before you go, please subscribe to Daily Reefing. Let me just get the link. I lost his link. All right. All right. Thank you again, Jeff. Thank you for your time. Here's the link. Please subscribe to his channel. In fact, Jeff, if you can just drop a comment, it's easier for them to click on your name and just subscribe from there.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's fun, man.
All right. Dave, one last question from Dave. What do I need to run the Senai? An app? You need to just, you need to download the program from Senai and just plug it into the USB port, and then it's fine. You can run it from there. I think it's very intuitive. The software, they released an update for the software in the last couple of months, and it works. It's well. It's good. All right. So I am going to end this. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the super chat. Let me see who sent the super chat. Melanie Simpson, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, guys, and everyone have a good night. All right?
All right, good night.
All right, good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah, Alex.